I just wanted to see if this is actually going to work. Let's see here. Let's see. That. I wonder. Well, I wonder if I can flip that somehow. I don't know that I can. Because I am live streaming on the phone. I guess the question I'm going to ask, if anybody is on here yet. Oh, well. Is how does this show up on your screen? Are we getting somewhat okay resolution? All right. Well, hello, everyone. It is vertical. I'm not sure. The problem is, and I'll show you sort of what I have going on here. A little peek behind the Crow Dragon Pirate curtain. See sort of how the layer setup is. I'm going to take it out of its cradle, and I'll show you what I got going on here. So that is what I record all of my videos on. So if anyone's wondering how my videos are recorded, this is the rig. The problem is I'm not sure how to flip this thing horizontal, if there's a way I can even do that. Orientation is locked. That doesn't work. Bear with me here. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way. What's this button do? Highlight things. Oh, turn off the camera. I don't want to turn off the camera. I think I'm going to have to just do this vertical for the moment because it's on the phone. I'm not sure if I can actually set it. Let's see. Chat filter. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. Let's see. Horizontal live stream YouTube. Let me just use the old browser machine. To stream horizontally, you can use the YouTube app. How do I do that? Control the switch between vertical and horizontal orientations. Screen's right-hand side. Okay. Orientation is locked. Rotate device back. Yep. Well, I think it's just going to be vertical for this inaugural video, and we'll have to figure it out again in the future. Now, if I can get back to my live streaming, as long as we're okay with vertical for a bit. So, hey, we've hit 8 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to crack a beverage here. Now, my intention with this was really no more than to try to figure out if I even could do it with this phone. So this particular live stream is going to be mostly, I'll blather about some gold that you see in front of you if we want. Um, if we can get a high enough resolution to actually show some of the details, we'll go ahead and do that. I did want to mention a few things for anyone watching the stream down the road. I don't actually sell stuff. As you can see, I very much hoard things. In fact, this isn't even all the like random gold that I have floating around. Like this. Oh, what did I do there? How did that get knocked? Okay. There we go. So this is a gold container here. Let's see, what do we got? Gold, gold. There's more rings. Is my video even updating here? Huh, interesting. Maybe there's a delay, and what's going on here is that I am watching my delay feed thinking that I'm in fact crazy. All right. Why don't I just go ahead and do this, and we'll see how things go. So what I wanted to talk about tonight was a little bit of gold. And yeah, so my confusion is my confusion. I'm watching on my computer on the other screen here so I can see chat, and it's showing me what's going live. And clearly there's a little bit of a delay in this. So that's my fault. It's confusing. I am now, as I say this, watching myself show you some of the other random gold. With that, we'll go forward from this point forward like I know what I'm doing. What I want to talk about was gold, and in particular, what I was hoping I could do here was actually like talk about certain pieces. I have a video coming out where I wanted to talk about color, and it occurred to me that with all this gold out, there might be other things that people are kind of interested in regarding gold or other topics. And while I had it all laid out, I might as well try doing a live stream. Some of these pieces are things that are just so odd that I feel like they're well worth talking about for anyone who's doing treasure hunting. For example, this particular piece, and if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll probably have seen this piece, but it's probably the best example that I have of something that's weird and came in an eBay lot full of pins that I never would have expected before I got out looking for treasure. Now, the pin itself is old, as in like probably late 1800s, early 1900s. And the best way you can tell that is by looking at the pin itself. So if we look at the pin, a couple things occur to us right away is that this isn't a very standard safety catch. In fact, this is a fairly rare, well, maybe not that rare, but they didn't make these for too terribly long because they were a pain in the neck to make. And as soon as the more, let's see if I've got one here that is handy. As soon as the more standard, okay, maybe all I have in my gold pin collection is this crazy, what I thought was rare pin. Oh, come on, you. Here. There we go. You know, this is the pin, the safety pin that we're more used to, because this design effectively became standard, and they were mass produced. And if you were a jeweler making a pin, you'd just grab one of these and you'd buy it and you'd put it on your pin, because things like this were kind of a pain in the neck to make. I mean, that's a lot of very detailed, fiddly little work. So if you're looking to date a piece or see if something might actually be old that you think is old, if you flip it over and you look at the pin, you know, you can look at the hinge. There's some hinges, and I can't tell you too much about hinges yet. I'm still learning about the ins and outs of those. But the catch I have been learning about, and this catch, as I mentioned, is kind of a weird thing because they're such a pain in the neck to make that they were only made like right at the turn of the century, effectively. So that kind of dates it like 1890s, 1900, maybe 1910. And then the form is Etruscan revival. So at the time that they were doing this, the Victorians were digging up all these uh, tombs and pulling out all this jewelry, and all the well-to-do Victorians wanted the jewelry, but of course there wasn't enough to go around. So jewelers started making them. You've probably seen Egyptian revival. This is Etruscan revival. And as an example of treasure hunting, this one's great because it's just not marked. There's no gold marking on it. There's just this weird little Y. And the weird little Y, I think, was put on there because at a certain point, police were suggesting that folks start to mark their jewelry so that if it was stolen, it could be recovered. And like Sears was selling these little, what are they, a little tool for engraving, like little engravers. So people are putting like their social security numbers on their on all their precious objects, or just marking it with whatever. So I think that might be what's going on with this particular Y. But that is a chunk of gold, and it XRF'd out to being 12 karat, 50% gold, which is probably why it's not marked. Being only 12 karat, it may not necessarily have been something that they could sell when they made it as gold. The laws regarding how high your gold content have to be have changed over the years, and I'm not certain when this was made, but at one point in Britain, you had to have, I think, at least 15 karat gold to sell it as gold, which is why you see in the Victorian and before a lot of 15 karat stamps. So that's kind of an example of what I was thinking about chatting regarding this pile of gold. And then I also wanted to throw it out to anyone, if anyone had any questions about any of these things, and throw them out in the chat. If I had any things that you wanted a closer look at from any of my prior videos, I was hoping you could throw it into the chat and I can pull it out. We can chat about it here. I'm not entirely sure how I can do live streaming going forward, but my best thought was that it could be something that for any of my audience that wants to ask specific questions, they know maybe we'll do like once a week or once every 2 weeks. We'll just have a session, save up your questions, and I'll basically just be here and available, and I'll have all my hoard around me, and I can answer questions for you. Now, I realize now, as I'm saying this, that the live streaming thing is a little bit trickier than I thought it was going to be, because there's this delay. And as I'm speaking, you're not able to actually respond to me yet. So I don't see any texts or see any messages about what I should work on or pull out next. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep going with this pile of gold. And actually, what was it? There was something else I wanted to pull out and talk about. But you know what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually just going to talk about little bits of gold that are big surprises to me. So before I do that, I'm just going to say hi. Hi, Steve C. Thanks for joining. Thrift Daddy, Jesse Sanchez, Raul F., Frank, and Sharon. Welcome, everybody. If you have questions, absolutely throw them out. That's mostly what this one's about. Some of this stuff is maybe a bit of a preview for some videos that are coming up. Oh, hey, football clips. You too. I'll try to make sure I can keep up with the chat. But one of the things about gold treasure hunting that I've noticed is that watches are surprisingly rich in terms of finding gold, and especially these little guys, the little ladies' watches, or watches that just look like they're completely roached out. And the thing is that I've noticed with them is that they're marked on the inside and they're not marked on the outside. Like if we look at the backs of these, you'd think they'd say, oh, hey, this is gold. But no. Like this one up here, it does say that it's Hamilton, I believe. Yep. But you have to crack open the case and literally pry it open, and then see the backside of this is where the gold marking is. So for example, this one I found in a jewelry bag. So those will be some upcoming videos. Sorry to spoil the fun for some folks, but this was in a $5 jewelry bag, and I had to crack it open because there's no markings on the outside at all. And then you take the watch out, if you can get it. It's sealed itself back in there. Oh, come on, you. Yep, you're going to have to watch the video. So behind this watch, actually on the other side of this case, is where it tells you that it's actually 14 karat gold. And nowhere else on this watch does it say anything. It doesn't even have the maker on the face, if you notice that. And as a consequence, it just got tossed in a jewelry bag because it looks, and in fact, I've cleaned this up. This thing was just like caked with filth and had, I don't even know what was on the back. You'll see in the video as I'm scraping stuff off of it. So I think these are definitely something to keep an eye out for. All right. So the image is turned 90 degrees. I'm not sure if I can fix it for this stream. I will research how to fix it for a future stream, and I will attempt to do things at a 90 degree. Let me just rearrange things slightly. I will attempt to do them vertical for the rest of this video. Okay, so there's a question here from the other Jimmy. I've tried to look at jewelry jars on eBay. Can you give me some pointers to pick one? Short answer, don't buy jewelry jars off of eBay. Long answer, don't buy jewelry jars off of eBay. You will not get anything good ever, because those are jewelry jars that the eBay seller has already pawed through. If you're looking for gold or silver, they may throw silver in there to throw you a bone, but any eBay seller selling jewelry jars is giving you their second cut of jewelry jars. They've already gone through it. And as a consequence, you won't get anything good. Jewelry jars are strictly something that you can grab off of out of thrift shops or thrift shops, in fact. Yeah, so Steve C says, I throw in a fake Rolex to my jewelry jars, I presume. And that's really the truth with the eBay jewelry jars. Finding treasure off of eBay involves looking for sellers who sell everything. They don't just sell like jewelry, or they don't have a lot of jewelry. They don't really know what they're doing with jewelry. What they're doing is they're selling. Oh, so Steve says he's joking about throwing in a fake Rolex, but that's not a joke. Fake Rolexes are in those boxes. And that's the thing is, on eBay, people have already looked through it. At a thrift shop, the person selling it is they're an employee of the thrift shop. What they care about is different. Their attention to detail and focus is different, and they're not really. That's where you can actually get the deals on jewelry jars. So if you want to play around with jewelry jars, the only real options are either thrift shops or Shop Goodwill is one of the places you can get more or less jewelry jars, because they'll be Goodwill. Lawn sales, Steve says, potentially, yeah. The thing though about buying like a jewelry jar from a garage sale is that if you actually have like a legit jewelry jar, something looking like this, where someone at the garage sale has put that together, that means they're somebody who's into this stuff and they've already curated this. They've pulled out gold or silver, unless they're just bad at it, which I suppose could happen. But honestly, it's unlikely. Now, Jimmy said, I need to find better thrift shops. That might not necessarily be the case. Better thrift shops may not be what you need. It could be that your thrift shops actually have good jewelry jars, but you don't know when they put them out. These are something that a lot of people go after. And the reason that I get jewelry jars ever, in fact, I miss a lot of them, is because I am obsessive compulsive and I drop by my thrift shop constantly. Like, I mean, anytime I have a spare 5 minutes, I'll just stop into the thrift shop, walk in, walk out. And if there's a jewelry jar there, awesome. I also make friends with the people there, so I have an idea, just not in like a, how should I put it? You want to kind of the soft touch when you're asking about this, but uh, I don't. I have a notion of what their schedule is. I know when a jewelry jar might be coming out, and that helps me to know when I should be showing up to the thrift shop. And of course, I am a stay-at-home dad with a schedule that is somewhat restricted by the children, but they're at school part of the time, and then also in between activities when they're not at school, I can kind of make my own schedule. So if I know that there's probably going to be a jewelry jar coming out, I can make it a point to be there. So instead of necessarily assuming you need to find better thrift shops, which you might also need to do, it's a good idea to be friendly and just kind of ask, you know, when does this jewelry usually come out? Maybe say, I keep hearing that there's good things, but apparently I'm missing them. When do you usually put the jewelry out? And if you can be there when the jewelry is put out, then you might be able to snag yourself a jewelry jar. So Sharon has a question here. Do you sell these pieces as scrap or resell as jewelry? I don't really sell. Some of the gold I have sold as scrap. Like pieces like this one will probably be scrap right here. Oh, and the reason is I don't understand what it is. I thought it was a tie clip, but it doesn't make sense as a tie clip. It ended up being 10 karat gold, and honestly, I don't know what it's for. And it's not really even nice. It's kind of sharp. Even if it was a tie clip, it would kind of be I don't know, it'd kind of be bad. So I'll sell something like that as scrap. My local pawn shop, they've taught me so much that I feel like I kind of owe them. So when I do have things that are like true scrap like that, that's just confusing, yet still somehow made of 10 karat or broken chains, I'll drop them off. Um, so that's generally when I do sell, that's the case. Otherwise, my mom gets first stab at my jewelry. Um, it almost looks like a collar tie, you think? Except it's not symmetrical. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, when I sell stuff, that's generally what'll happen. For the most part, everything else is pretty well a hoard. I like the notion of having some money in a box. I consider this money because it can be cashed out. And if I'm in a situation where like the roof fails and I need money tomorrow and there just isn't enough in the coffers, then yeah, I could go cash this out. But for the most part, I just hoard it. My mom gets to pick it over. I give jewelry as tips to babysitters. I give it away for Christmas presents. So we have family members that really do like these things, so they tend to get nice pieces. But otherwise, I'm not really selling yet. If I ever do sell, I will make sure to um, make a video announcing that I'm selling. Um, do I stack silver? There's a question here. That's a hard question to answer because the answer kind of I don't like calling it stacking silver because the truth is I just hoard, and I don't know, like, I'm just gonna reach over and grab a random, like, this is just a bin of sterling, and I have like another 10 pounds of sterling in another bin, and there's like 4 of these bins sitting over here and a tray full of sterling. Is that stacking? Is that hoarding? Is that should I be on an episode of Hoarders? The answer is probably yes. I should be on an episode of Hoarders. The computer that I am reading your messages off of currently is stacked on top of 3 boxes totally full of sterling or solid in some way, like 830 silver or 800 silver. And it's not going anywhere. Some of it we use for Christmas, but otherwise it's just a stack. I don't really stack pure silver, but I do definitely stack sterling, if that answers the question. I should also note that part of why I stack sterling is because, like, everything you're looking at right here, except for this was a gift from my mom back in 1997 when I was young. But every other piece of this stuff you see out here, all of this gold, wasn't sold as gold. I got all these things in other places. Like, this was in an eBay lot that, I don't know, I don't remember what I paid for it, but I paid like $40 for it. This was at a garage sale in a bin of bangles for $1. This Rolex right here, this little lady's Rolex, I got at a garage sale with a pile of other gold and silver for $7. I think mostly because my son was very cute and they liked him. And when I told them that I thought it was gold, they're like, no, we don't care, $7. So yeah. The other Jimmy says hoarding precious metals is stacking. I would tend to agree with that. I think it is a different form of stacking, but I do see a lot of the stacker community has strategies for stacking, and they have a lot of things that they do regarding how they're achieving their stacks of wealth. And I'm just kind of I just get bored, and I need something to occupy a back of my brain, and hunting the hunt is actually what does it for me. So if I'm not hunting for this stuff, which is small and easily fits into a box, then I will probably have to occupy my brain with something else that isn't so small and honestly profitable. Like, I haven't paid really that much for this stuff, and it's worth a lot more than I've paid. So let me pause and look at the questions here. Thank you, Robert. I'm pretty pleased with where the collection is going. I don't know what I collect and what I hoard quite yet. I have a bit of a when I collect, my strategy, if you will, is to kind of grab everything that can help me learn. And then once I've reached sort of critical mass and decided what I really like and what I don't, then kind of getting rid of the things that I don't like and turning that money into better things that I do like. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a collection yet. This is still in the accumulation phase. Sharon said, I bought some beautiful old silver trays, found they're plated, but don't they have a lot of copper? They still have potential value? Absolutely. Silver plate still has a lot of value. And in fact, there's people that sell it. Nice pieces of silver plate, especially in high condition, are worth a fair bit, particularly if they are antiques. And then, of course, there's copper or brass in there that's valuable. Brandon Dilly said he's earning the dragon part by hoarding treasure. I mean, yeah. Oh, yes. So the other Jimmy said, now I understand your channel name. Yeah, I'm a crow because I'm always after shiny things, and then I hoard them and like a dragon, and then like like a pirate, I'm always out plundering. So that was the joke that a friend of mine made, that I'm 50% crow, 50% dragon, 50% pirate. But when I first started the channel, it was 50%, but that just didn't make sense. So now I'm just crow, dragon, pirate. Okay, so Brandon said it's great that you find the value in old things and turn it into videos for us. I really appreciate that. It's been fun. I've been surprised by how much of a response there has been. This live stream situation, like if you told me, last year that I would have a live stream with 20 people who wanted to hear me talk about a pile of random little gold, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But here we are, and I really hope that I can be useful to you folks. So what is the watch name in the top right corner? This one? This one is, well, you won't find it on the outside of the watch anywhere. If I could pull it apart, and I'm afraid that if I try right now on camera, it's going to go flying, and I'm going to feel bad because there's a nice little Swiss watch in here. But it's Grana, Grana. And they were a little Swiss watchmaker. And if you look them up, you're only really going to find one thing that they're well known for, which is that they were one of the companies. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do, oh, maybe. They were one of the companies that the British Army contracted for their military wristwatches. And this is a 14 karat gold cased luxury watch that they made, which, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have any value from a collector standpoint. It's probably all in the gold here. On the bright side, there is 14 grams of 14 karat gold in this thing. So video is turned 90 degrees. Dang it. The other one. Oh, the other one. Oh, this one. Haha. That is a Bulova Accutron. And I'm just going to give you all the watches here because I think this one's a Hamilton and this is an Omega. But yeah, so that's a 14 karat. Let's see if I can show you the marking on it. Oh yeah, it's on the back. 14 karat gold case Bulova Accutron, which was the first electric watch. And the funny thing about this watch too, is I got something else in an eBay lot that kind of goes with it. Got some watches here. I'll be upside down. I threw it in the watch bin because that's where it goes. All right. Yeah, that little guy, which hilariously, you see that little symbol there? Matches that. So that's a Bulova Accutron tie pin. And the funny thing about it too is that it is 14 karat gold, but it's just completely unmarked. So I don't really know if some really crazy watch collector just had it made for themselves, or if it was something that Bulova made, or what. This watch was funny. This was probably the first watch I ever bought where I realized that if a watch looks kind of goofy, no one realizes it's gold. Because this was sitting in the case for $100, and I had just vaguely become aware of the fact that gold watches existed, and I pull it out and I flip it over, and there you go. You got your 14 karat gold case. And I'm like, well, $100. There's more than $100 than this thing. It is a chunky boy. So I said, I'll give you $100. And she's like, oh, that's been in there so long, it's half price. It's $50. So, and I think I've tried to figure out how much gold is in this thing, and it's like $700. But that was before gold was so high. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of gold in a case like this. It is a chunky case. So, but yeah, then the tie pin was funny, and I didn't actually know that this tie pin was that. It didn't occur to me until I posted a video about it, and people in the comments told me, "Hey, that's a Bulova Accutron symbol." I am absolutely blown away by what you folks out in the YouTube comment land have been able to tell me. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment. Let's see. So Brandon asked, why don't you put a strap on it and wear it? The main reason I don't put a strap on it and wear it is because my understanding with these old watches is that they should be serviced. So the old oil within them can become a real problem. And if you run an old watch with like crusty bad oil, not only will it hold bad time, but it will also like grind itself and damage itself. So until I can find a good watchmaker who can service these, and I save up the multiple hundreds of dollars it takes to service them, I'm probably not going to be wearing them. So Thrift Daddy said, I once found a 10K Bulova AccuQuartz. Yeah, absolutely. Just because these watches are seemingly common, definitely hit those watch bins. Just looking for precious metals, because like they're there. I wouldn't have thought it, but they definitely are there. Another question here from Sharon. Have you taken the watches to a jeweler to be fixed and to get a new man? Oh, I think I just answered that. Robert was enjoying the fact that I had the pin. Sharon said people rework old women's watches to hang on chains. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Like this watch was a one that was just in a junk bin, and these are like not insignificant diamonds, as it turns out. Like those are pretty good sized, and they're pretty clear diamonds. So when this watch was made, it was not, they weren't messing around with this watch. But the truth is, with a watch like this, most of the time these things, because it's missing the crown here, these things are just getting scrapped more often than not. So Casey has a question here. What part of the country are you in? I'm actually in Northwest Montana, kind of in a weird little corner of Montana, up near Glacier National Park, actually. And it's an odd spot because we end up with a lot of tourists, and we don't have a super big population, but we do have what would be the best way to put it? We have a very committed population of hoarders. Montanans, I think it's probably because of the hard winters, never throw anything away. And because they never throw anything away, there's just a lot of interesting stuff up here. So one of the questions here is, Brennan, so what's the most unusual way you found precious metals? Unusual way? Well, I think all of my precious metals have been thrift shops and garage sales. I've found precious metals inside other things. Probably my biggest surprise and unusual would be this, at least with gold. So this is a thimble, and there was a little box full of thimbles because people collect thimbles, and a lot of them are just like, there's like a piece of ceramic that came from Tucson or something, and this was actually like hiding up inside another thimble, and I dumped it out, and I looked at it, and I thought, that's shiny. That must be silver. And I looked inside, and I'm like, wait a minute. Can we show it on the camera here? I think so. Yeah, right there. 10 karat. And I'm like, what the heck? They make 10 karat gold thimbles? It turns out 10 karat gold thimbles were definitely a thing. Victorians loved it. If you loved your grandma, if you loved your mom, 10 karat gold thimble. So yeah, and I should say, Jesse, if you'd love to find a gold thimble, they are available, and they sell for around spot usually on eBay, because I think most of them just get melted down. So if you have someone who's very into sewing in your life, it could be a pretty nice little gift. And they're functional too, and they'll have the size. So if you know what the size they need, you can actually buy one of their size because they're generally stamped with the size number inside. And because they're 10 karat, they're durable enough to actually use as a thimble. This one was probably used for, you know, a good chunk of someone's life. 10 karat gold will really hold up well to use. So Robert had a question here. Is your whole collection gold? Um, no, no. I mean, like, if I just reach over real quick, you like silver? I got silver. I have, last time I weighed it, I had like 19 pounds of silver sterling, but I haven't actually weighed it in a while, so I don't know. Yeah, I have a lot. Gabby girl, how much does it weigh? You know what? One of the benefits to doing this live and you asking me questions is I can pull out my scale and we can weigh it. I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera there, and it's not going to show up, oh, the right way here. Of course, everything is tilted. Let's tear that. So this thimble weighs in at 3.43 grams. So Casey knows a thing or two about gold thimbles. Or is just very good at eyeballing gold and saying how much it weighs. But yeah, they're really a fun thing. So Steve C says poundage. Yeah, I have. I mean, the thing about the sterling is that it, like, the gold is a hoot. And the reason I have all this gold out here was I was making a video talking about color, and in particular, and you guys will see it at some point here. It should be a little bit higher quality than this. But I really wanted to have a video where I talked about, like, just how crazy different, like, this is 14 karat gold, and I didn't think it was 14 karat gold. Especially when you compare it to like other 14 karat gold. Like here we have a wedding band. Maybe that's not the best example. Where's another piece? Ah, here's another piece of 14 karat gold. And it's just like so dang pale in comparison. So I wanted to talk about like alloys and what happens with some alloys. Like this, I think it's this piece. See if this is the piece. Yeah, this is the piece. So like this little piece right here, you look at that and you're like, all right, that's a chunk of silver. That's got to be sterling. Look at how black it is. And you flip it over and you're like, oh man, look how tarnished that is. Then you look close and you're like, wait just a goddamn second here. Why does it say 10K? And I tested it. And this, believe it or not, is 10 karat white gold, despite looking like a tarnished piece of silver. And the reason for that is that, 10 karat gold is, it's only 41.6% gold. The rest is probably silver. And if you put it in the right conditions, it will tarnish. Now, it doesn't tarnish as hard or look the same as silver. But if the conditions that, if you had put this pin next to a sterling silver pin, wherever this thing acquired this tarnish, I'll bet you that sterling silver pin would be just completely black. So I think the gold does do something. But yeah, you can get tarnished gold, 10 karat gold, especially. And I found, and I don't know where it is. I might have actually scrapped it because it was just a broken necklace, but I found a necklace one time that looked really weird, and it was a 10 karat gold necklace, but man, that thing was black. And the lady at the pawn shop told me that what probably happened was that somebody back in the 70s was in a hot tub with it. And that was enough back then, apparently, to take your 10 karat gold and just make it go totally black. Okay, so let's see. Have another question here. Sharon asked to discuss the grading of silver. Sterling is not pure silver, but not plated silver, and that's true. So And I talk about this quite a bit when I can. Let me set this down and see if I can grab a prop for this. There's solid silver, sterling, and there's pure silver. So like here's an example of sterling, and let's say international sterling, and the sterling is 92.5% silver, rest being copper, and that's just to make it strong. I just put out a short today showing some little pure silver, um, some pure silver, and how easily bent it is. So that's, we would call this solid silver as opposed to plate because it is a solid piece. It's just copper alloyed in with the silver, mixed in with the silver when it's made. The wear is completely different. Plate, on the other hand, compared to that, will let me grab a piece. Yeah, so like here's a piece of plate, and you can see where the silver's on the surface, but it's wearing through down to the, in this case, the nickel silver. So it's just a very thin layer that's put on top with electroplating. And the base metal here is like nickel, which is not worth nothing, but it's definitely not worth what silver's worth. And then of course there's all sorts of different grades of silver, like I can grab it here. Oh, got a little bit of gold on here. I should put that in my little gold tray. Like this piece, which has proved to be quite popular in the shorts. This piece is 830 silver, or at least it's marked 830 silver, which would be 83% silver, but it's 83% silver with the rest being, I think, probably copper. I'm not sure what they alloyed these with necessarily. And then the other thing about like a nice high dollar piece of Norwegian silver like this was that the law was that they had to stamp at 830 because it had a minimum of 83% silver content. It didn't necessarily have 83% silver. They would make a lot of things out of sterling because that was what they wanted from a wear perspective and from a working it perspective. So I found on the XRF machine that a lot of pieces I have that are marked 830 are in fact sterling. And I might have to talk about this in a minute here too, because the most amazing YouTube comment popped up on my video about this piece that just absolutely blew me away. But Robert has a question here. How did you end up with the Veterans Medal? Let's see. This medal right here, I believe, is the one that says Veterans on it. It says Gus Spangler. And it's the Improved Order of Red Men. And it is actually for a fraternal organization, which they say they got their roots in the Boston Tea Party. But they were more or less, there was just tons of fraternal organizations. We still have them, but like the Freemasons and the Elks and all of these different organizations. And Improved Order of Red Men was one. They dressed up like Native Americans, and you had to be white to join. You couldn't actually be a Native American, but they like to dress up like them, and that's what this is. I bought this on eBay. There was like a whole bunch of these, like this one too is also Improved Order of Red Men. And there was just like, somebody had a huge collection of these and was selling them. And then I got excited because that was right about the time I was learning about gold, and that gold was on eBay. And I hadn't really got burned. I had completely lucked out on the random purchases that I had made and was getting a surprising amount of solid gold. So I just kind of kept with it for a while there. And these pieces were part of my little, like this too, this mason piece. These were all part of my better lucky than good phase on eBay. But yeah, I paid a little bit more for these, but I think I figured I ended up paying like a tenth of spot price at the time for them, which means they're way less than that now, because that was what, 2 years back that I was doing that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes. We're just gonna keep this to an hour, so I can go back. I think hang out with my wife a little bit before we go to bed. Figure she might want to watch a show or chat about her day, so I should definitely make sure I do that. Priorities, after all. But if I am going to talk about something that I want to talk about before I do that, because I don't see any more questions, what I would like to do here is I'm just going to bring up something else on my computer, because I got to read something. And if you haven't seen it, I posted a short about this Norwegian piece right here. And I don't know what to do to thank this person who made these comments, because they absolutely went above and beyond. Now, I love this piece. I bought this at a garage sale last Friday now. I don't know. Time doesn't mean anything when you have very small children. And it's just beautifully hand engraved. Just a super attractive compote. And it has some markings on it. Here we have 10/2/1887, and then of course a monogram. And then it also has the maker mark here. So we have 830, which is the silver standard, Tostrup, which is the maker in Norway, and then 1887 as a date, which was the manufacture date of this, and then also a 1922 stamp. Now I have to read this because this guy just, he went all out, and you'll wanna, if you have a chance, there's if you go to my shorts, you'll see a short where I have this, and he has more than this, but he talks about figuring out what this actually was and is, and then his last post was tying it all together. He believed that this was for a marriage, and when he looked it up, he said this. So marriage information or confirmation. The Aker, A-K-E-R, parish record verifies that Anders Henrik Lovenskild and Laura Emil Hansen married on February 10th, 1877. Their elite status, noble groom, office nobility, bride, fits the peerage connection and matches the compote's engraving date of 10/2/1877. Now, the 1887 commission, now this person apparently contacted or had access to the Tostrup records, because he says here, the Tostrup record confirms the compote was made in 1887 for their 10-year anniversary, with the monogram HAL reflecting AHL, Anders Henrik Lovenskild, in the surname central style. Now, the 1922 mark, he didn't stop there. So this was made for their 10-year anniversary. And the Lovenskilds were and are actually like a noble house in Norway. So the quality of this and the connection of it being or coming from Tostrup, who was the royal jeweler for the King of Norway, all makes sense. But then there's also this 1922 mark, which this fellow was able to figure out. The 1922 mark was where Anders Henrik died in January 1922, as recorded in probate records. So this YouTube commenter looked up parish records in Norway and got the marriage records, then got the records from the silversmith that made this, then got probate records of the death of the guy who got this made for his wife, to explain the 1922 mark, which was added during a reassay as confirmed by Tostrup's repair log, because this went back to Tostrup for a reassay as part of the probate when Anders' son actually inherited this when his dad died. I mean, I don't know, what do I do? Can you suggest some kind of thank you that I can make for someone who went through all of that for just a YouTube short that I put up. Good night, Casey. Have a good night. I'm only going to be at it for about 10 more minutes here. The other Jimmy asked a question: have you put that on the XRF to confirm the 830? The answer is no. This will not fit on the XRF machine. And if you go back through my videos, there was a very short time where down at the pawn shop, they let me actually film some of the XRF machine being used. I think it's in my video titled How to Identify Unmarked Silver. And you'll see where I spliced in videos of it being used. The machine is actually, it's more for jewelry. It's only like so big. And you have to close the lid. So you like even this won't fit in it, if that makes any sense. So unfortunately, my confirmation that this is 830 silver is just that it is definitely solid silver, and there's no reason anyone would fake such an object. And after I polished it all up, it's clearly solid silver. Now, it could be sterling, but I don't know that I'll ever have a way of confirming that unless someone has an XRF gun, which then we could zap it and find out if it's 925 or 830. Gabby Girl asks, do I pay to use the XRF? No, I don't actually pay them. That's part of why when I mentioned earlier that I have sold some gold to them, I feel that they are, I feel like I kind of owe them because they've taught me so much down there. And you know, they've taught me a lot with the XRF machine. Definitely, I've made great friends with the folks down at that particular pawn shop. They're wonderful people, and honestly, a lot of what I learned from them. But there's also a little give. And the reason I say that is because I've always made it a point to try to entertain them with the things that I bring in. And having enthusiasm for what you're doing and learning and being friendly will go a long way with a lot of these places. Now, some pawn shops are just kind of crusty and angry, but if you can make friends with some folks, it can be awesome. I will say too that being in a smaller place and being where I do live, this is just a wonderful part of the world. People are they're so great here. They're really just so great here. And I have run into just so many lovely people, and they were definitely some of them. So a question here, Dirty Dan, do I have a Discord or anything? I don't have a Discord. Maybe somewhere down the road, I'll start up a Discord. I don't know. I hadn't really given it much thought. My email is always like if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've got an email on there you can get me on if you need anything. And I'll try to do these live streams a little more often. And also I try to be very responsive to the comments that people ask. But yeah, and then Sharon here made a comment regarding this. Wow, someone in the other family sold it or gave it away. That's another mystery. Lost it. Lost at the war. You know, I don't know. I don't know a tactful way to go back to the garage sale where I bought it and ask them. I feel like it's well, on the one hand, I think it's kind of rude to like just drive up to someone's house after a garage sale and ask them about something regarding the garage sale. I feel like that's kind of a weird thing to do, and I don't think I could do that. On the second point I have regarding trying to do something like that is that I would feel really bad if I didn't give it back to them, and I don't know what they would do with it. If they sold it to me in the first place for $5 because they just wanted to get rid of that old piece of trash, I'd be concerned that it would just get melted down. So I'm a little hesitant to go ask them. But it could be that there was some family connection from the people at the garage sale. That happens out here a lot. There's a lot of people of Scandinavian descent in this area. We have a lot of Russians, a lot of Scandinavians here. So I don't know. Maybe it was in their family. Maybe they just forgot where it came from. I'm not sure. The thing was utterly filthy and just in terrible shape when I got it. So what it looks like now is not representative of me finding it. When I found it at the garage sale, it was like in the middle of a table. There was a doll on top of it, and they had just been piling stuff on top of it. And the lady said that she just wanted to get rid of it because it was old and dirty and nasty. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up. If anyone has any final questions for this live stream, and if you have any ideas in the future too, definitely like leave a comment. I can make more live streams that are more focused. I just wanted to see if this would kind of work. Obviously, this is flipped, so I'm going to have to figure out how to make it not flipped. I'm sure there's some way I can manage that. If you see a live stream pop up, and it might just be that I'm trying to work this out. So, but I thought tonight maybe we might have a little time and have some fun with it. So yeah. Any questions before I turn this one off? I can't thank you all enough for joining me. I enjoy chatting with people. I kind of miss it from before I was a stay-at-home dad, and this is filling a need for me. So I really appreciate you all. All right, have a good night, everyone. Now, how do I turn this thing off?